Howdy, y'all. It's Cody from the Keeper's Nerdum. How you doing? So last night I got to go see the. I don't know if it's going to be movie of the year, but I mean, it has the potential for it. I got to go see Dune 2. This year's actually got some pretty interesting movies coming out that I think could give it a run for its money, though. Uh, Overall, very very good film. We might get into some mild spoilers towards the end of this, but I think in general this is a film that is really willing to sit in the moment and just bask in the insanity of what's going on. And I really appreciate that from a movie standpoint and perspective. That we're dealing with major political intrigue, we're dealing with major issues of fallout from situations as they have developed. And I think overall this is a fantastic film to just, it reminds me of like Lord of the Rings, that it's willing to slow down. And there are times where it does feel too slow. In Lord of the Rings, like the first one, The Fellowship of the Ring, definitely feels too slow at times. But it's willing to actually do that in order to better help you with the story, and to make sure that you understand the stakes, and to let you just bask in the epicness of the scenery, the moment, the things going on. And then it's when it gets to a battle, it speeds up and really gets you into the moment. I really appreciate it. I really do. The actor for Paul Atreides does really well. Zendaya does very well again. She's expressive and emotive when she needs to be, but also as a Freeman, kind of that lack of emotion for most of them. It's really interesting because they just kind of have this idea of you can't show emotion, in part because if you cry, you are wasting water. It's just an interesting, fascinating kind of plot point. Not like major plot point, but just a thing of their culture that really relates to how desperate they are to conserve their resources. Still never explains how they have those suits, though. I've always wondered about that, because like their suits are really high-tech ability things for life-saving equipment. And it's kind of impressive, but also it's like, how do they have this? Because that's insane. Let's see here. Paul Atreides' mother, once again, very good. She knocks it out of the park, and we have a surprise return of a character, which is really cool. We'll talk about that in a moment. Let's see. Dave Bautista is in it again. Good to see him. And lots of fun. We have Baron Harkonnen. He is once again creepy. That actor, I know him, and I've seen him in so many movies, and they like put so much like latex and stuff over him. But he is just so good at making you just absolutely revile Baron Harkonnen, and just how like him and the Sisters of the Bene Gesserit, like this movie is all about that concepts of political intrigue, wheels within wheels within wheels, plans within plans. And it's neat to see that there's these characters that are constantly scheming and plotting and planning, and they're probably 7 steps ahead of anything you've thought of. Really, really cool storytelling. Side note, enjoy the video of Prey and then Sekiro. Anyway. Yeah, wow. Also, the main Freeman that believes in Paul Atreides is back, and he has a much bigger role to play in this film, and he is so good. I really, really appreciate what they did with him, because he kind of keeps the plot moving, and him and Zendaya's character are very much this opposing viewpoints that let you as the audience kind of wrestle through which way is the better way to go. And I think that's really good storytelling. There is an extra character in a way in this movie that is super creepy the entire film, and then there's a character that shows up later on in the film that is very creepy too. We'll talk about those in the minor spoilers section. I don't want to give away the entirety of the movie, because it's not that this movie has... It's such a weird thing that a movie can be this long, over 2.5 hours, and have so little happen in a way, and yet so much happen. It's interesting because it feels not very big because it's still focused down on this planet, but this planet is just so important to everything. I mean, can you imagine in this universe if another planet was found that had the spice that this planet has that powers all their ships? Crazy. Sandworms are much more epic and shown in this film than the previous, and for good reason. They are fantastically interesting and creepy and powerful and awe-inspiring in a way. It's impressive the things that they do in this film. It really is. Just trying to think back over it. This movie does have some more logical inconsistencies than the previous one, but they're not like major things. They're just weird things, and I just think it's kind of funny to think about them for a moment. So, if you will allow me, the shields are very strange in this film because it just seems like everything can go through them when they're used, and then apparently they have now lasers that are able to just pass through everything. Nothing stops these lasers. It's kind of crazy. So if you have a weapon like that, why do you need anything else? Let's see. The shields are also strange because it seems like swords are used faster when shields are on and still go through them. And you don't see the red effect as often, even when somebody's going pretty quick with their blades. Just strange. And there's even mention at one point of normal munitions used. And it's really interesting to note that they're willing to even say that out loud. So, yeah, shields are just a strange thing. They're not as consistent in this film as the previous. They speed things up, it feels like, a little bit. And then there is a strange kiss in the movie, ×2. And if you've seen it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, and I'll just leave it there. So, I think those are the major things that really just stood out as odd and strange and bizarre. But the shields especially were a strange piece of the film, not universe breaking by any means, but just strange. So let's go into the minor spoilers of the film. Obviously, Paul is growing into this person, and at first does not accept that he is this prophesied one, because it's the Bene Gesserit that set it all up. And his mother, who's pregnant, ends up drinking the worm blood, I guess. I don't know exactly what it is, but it comes from inside of a worm, and her baby also absorbs it in her womb, and she starts like talking to the baby. It's super weird and creepy and interesting too, but also really creepy. And it just, that part just keeps going throughout the film. Very, very odd. And it eventually culminates in Paul having to, I'm not going to say a whole lot more towards the end of the film, but just that Paul has to really follow through with things that he doesn't necessarily want to, because in his visions he sees pieces of what's happening, and he eventually gets the ability to see more of those, to see why and how, which is cool. It's a good journey and character arc for him, that he's becoming more and more of the superhuman that the Bene Gesserit were afraid he could become. Very interesting. We get introduced to the Emperor. I didn't talk about that before, but Christopher Walken, which he's like in my top 5 actors I just don't prefer because they just play the same character all the time. And he was actually used pretty well in this film, and he kept himself under control to where it was, I'm watching the Emperor, not just Christopher Walken. I really appreciated that. Now, he's used sparingly, but he wasn't just trying to be bombastic Christopher Walken. It was good. And we're introduced to his daughter, who plays just an important political role and connection with the Bene Gesserit as well. The Harkonnens are back, and there's a whole plot thing with them that I'm not going to even spoil as far as, the movie, which is, it was good. It was like, oh wow, there's so many more details here. But Baron Harkonnen is once again back, but also has his nephew that he brings up, and there was times where his nephew was talking and it sounded just like him. Either they had changed his voice in the movie, or he was putting on an act to sound like Baron Harkonnen. And it was fascinating, because I was like, first of all, I'm like, who is this? And he would turn around and I'm like, oh, this is somebody different. That's very interesting. So he's really interesting, but when he's gifted Arrakis, they have this awkward like kiss scene between him and the Baron Harkonnen, and then he like kisses him back, and it's supposed to be like, I pledge this to you, so this is our sign in front of, you know, the legal system that it's official. And it just was weird. It was super weird. He's definitely a very interesting foe. There are points in the movie where it just slows down to give you just Paul trying to become more like the Fremen and learn those things, and then some time jumps too that it took you a second to kind of catch on to just how crazy things are changing, and just the guerrilla warfare tactics that are used to defeat the Harkonnens. It's cool. Oh, that was the other plot issue that I had, was the shields didn't make any sense at times, but then at the very end, the Emperor's men don't use their shields at all, it seems like, and the Harkonnens do. It's like, so did the Emperor not have shields on his people? Because that doesn't make any sense at all. So anyway, this film overall is really good, and we also have I can't remember his name, but he's one of the generals for the Atreides, and it's not Duncan Idaho, it's the other guy. Is that Josh Brolin? I think it is. Anyway, really, really good, and he's back. He apparently survived and became like a mercenary and sold spice behind the scenes, and it was neat to see him as he starts getting involved in the political intrigue as well. And it gets, you know, as you see in the film, politics gets really, really messy, and it reminds me in such a way of Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, that, you know, and Dune Part 1, just this idea that it's okay to make a film that's about the political intrigue, and it really gives you so much to really think through and work through. And I actually appreciate that about those films, because we deserve films that are more serious still. We don't need just action films. And this movie has a lot of action, and we get to see them ride sandworms and do the crazy stuff there. So if you haven't seen Dune 2, and obviously it just came out this weekend, go see it. It is a movie that is fantastic and interesting, and if you like sci-fi action, this is a movie for you. If you have seen it, let me know in the comments below. What did you think about it? What was your best parts? What were the worst parts? You know, evaluate it, break it down. This is great stuff. Just know that if you go down in the comments, you may have spoilers. Thank you so much for listening in and joining our conversation, possibly. Like, share, and subscribe. I've been Cody from the Keepers of Nerdom. Take care, y'all. Bye.